let's begin with the New York Giants. Of course, we mentioned it at the top of the show, Kris. New York Giants fan as you are, 0-2, coming off I'm going to call it heartbreaking loss. I think that's a fair way to say that game against the Washington football team. So before we get into this week against the Falcons, just briefly, I want to hear your thoughts on that loss to Washington.
Man, I got to start off this segment by saying I'm a Giants fan myself, so
of course
I'm going to be coming from an emotional perspective.
That's okay.
Perhaps I will do my best to trudge through, wade through the waters of depression, and get an objective takeout. As someone who likes Joe Judge, I think that the first thing I want to highlight is his long-term commitment to being a very functional organization, a very organized organization. He has made a huge point of saying he wants the New York Giants playing in your mouth but fundamentally sound football. To lose a football game because you took out your finest silver platter and handed them a second field goal attempt right on it. I mean, what are you doing? They shanked it, and you won the game, and then you didn't. And the reason you didn't is because you beat yourself. And when you beat yourself, it doesn't matter how the other team's playing. It doesn't matter if you're playing Mahomes or Heineke or Davis Mills. You beat yourself. That's embarrassing.
Well,
and I don't know another way to see it if I'm the Giants.
Here's something that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, and I don't know if you're going to agree with me, but the fact that you're in that position for the game-winning field goal, I think is already bad, considering the interception and a huge play by the Giants defense, who didn't really play well all game, but came up with that huge stop when they needed it most.
Yep.
And what did the offense have to do? Just keep the ball. Just keep the ball in their hands.
It's like watching the Mets, man. No run support.
Prevent anything else from happening. Instead, what do? I mean, they end up, right back and giving that chance to Washington to kick that field goal. And I know they missed the first one, and I know jumping off sides, that's inexcusable. I'm not saying it isn't. And I'm not saying there's any reason to say that that's okay what happened there. Obviously, it's not. It's a bad play. However, to be put in that position, I think you're obviously setting yourself up to lose that football game. And you're setting yourself up in a game where there were some positives for the New York Giants. Daniel Jones running the football. I mean, he played really well. I mean, this offense in general, and I know he went at it a little bit with Golladay, right? I believe.
So Kenny Golladay clarified that my theory was correct. So I will take my small miniature victory lap. There we go.
Okay, what was
it? Was
the theory?
Jason Garrett, everyone's favorite offensive coordinator. That was the receiving end of Kenny Galladay's screaming.
Interesting. I'd have to go back and look at the tape there to see if that's accurate or not.
You were just saying that the Giants there's a losing air around them, and
they find a way to lose games. That's the thing.
For me, I think it comes down to the man we just mentioned, in part because it feels like on offense that the Giants play to not lose. They play to not lose. They don't play to win. They play to not lose the football game.
Here's the thing:
that's how you lose football.
Bad teams do that. Bad teams certainly do that, and they find a way to lose games.
So when Jason Garrett is out there, I would say Madden play calling. But Madden play calling, like, they mix it up. The coach's suggestions, they get some different plays.
I always play with the coach suggestions. I don't know about you.
1st and 10, curls. 2nd and 10, HB dive with Saquon. 3rd and 11, HB dive with Saquon. 4th and 14, punt. Every drive. And it's like, all right, maybe let's not do that again next time. Garrett's like, they're never going to see this one coming. HB dive with Saquon up the middle. It's so frustrating to lose football games and to feel like the players who lost them didn't even get a chance to show what they could have done.
Yeah.
You want to talk about someone not getting a chance? Forget on the field. Kenny Golladay, I believe, is being a little misutilized. Kadarius Toney was the team's first-round pick, and I believe he has touched the football twice this year.
Yeah.
So that's nuts.
And there were rumors that he wanted to leave. He wanted to get out of there. And
Toney, man, he is he's a fireball that got hit by lightning. That kid can walk into the Giants facility and literally power the lights with his energy. I mean, he's so passionate about football and about his game and about getting better. I really don't think I can fault him after being taken in the first round by one of the more storied franchises in the league for being like, hey, what's going on here? Because he's sitting on the bench the whole time.
Yeah, but it's so early.
I
He's
think
2 games into his
I
career,
think
and he's already
that-
calling for a trade. I mean, doesn't that?
I don't think he officially asked out.
I just
what
think
happened
the
was
rumors
that
of that.
he said some things to the media, and
Yeah.
the media didn't like that.
Yeah.
Basically, Tony and Saquon, I think by the end of the year, and Galladay, all three of those guys, by the end of the year are going to be performing like they're them. However, right now, it's not happening. Now, you can say that Joe Judge, last year the team got better as the year went on, and that if you're projecting that for this year as well, maybe this Giants team winds up with 9 wins somehow by the end of the. What are they doing? They're not making any noise in the playoffs. They're gonna have a worse draft pick. Like, I hate to view it from that perspective, but if 2 weeks in, you have 2 of your more winnable games in the entire season.
Well, this one too. This coming week.
This
Between
is
these 3 games.
to have your first 3 games be some of your easiest ones, and to be 0-2 going into your third, is just really, really suboptimal for a team that has failed to deliver on expectations. And I'm not a big expectations as a standard guy, but I am a big competence as a baseline standard guy.
Yeah.
And they've been 0-2 to start the season for 6 seasons straight now, I believe. That's consistency.
Not in a good way.
That is consistency.
Yeah.
And the issue with it is that it is the most losing consistency.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say anything about this Giants team that's positive right now if you're talking about the entire
Well,
team.
no, I
If
disagree.
you're talking about the entire
I
team,
disagree because
I think Daniel Jones had great games. I
Yes,
think Saquon Barkley is
and that's a
working his way
positive.
back.
And that's
I'm
a
talking
positive.
about the Giants football team. Like, they are an
As a whole.
embarrassing team.
Here's the thing with me. If the Giants win that game against Washington, it's a very different storyline. It's a very different storyline because Daniel Jones played a great game.
He did.
He
and,
did.
and if he
And
continues
the
to play
defense
this way
wasn't
this
good,
season,
like I
I'm
said, but
bringing
they
him back.
did step up. I mean, the defense did step up when they needed to with that big interception. Guys were getting involved. Slayton, I know he dropped that ball. That's another thing. We haven't even talked about that. That was another chance for them to go out and win that
Because
game.
people called it an uncatchable pass when it literally hit him in the hands.
Yeah, it hit his fingertips. It's borderline. When I saw it, my gut reaction was that's a bad throw because he was wide open. You know what I'm saying?
And
he
then
let it, but it's
I
not a
watched
bad
it in
throw.
slow-mo,
Yeah,
and
yeah. When you look at it in slow mo, it's like he should have caught that ball.
all right, I hate to have this take from my cushion chair here in the WFUV studios.
Yeah,
But when you're getting
love
paid
that.
millions of dollars to catch footballs on an NFL field,
You gotta
and
make
there's
that play.
not, you could take like 2 Chris's worth of a radius and have nobody around Darius Slayton, and you don't catch that football. It's just like, what's going on, man?
Yeah.
Like, this is a team that really knows how to lose.
Yeah, it's just once again, like you said, finding a way to lose a game.
They
Like
really
you
know
said.
how to lose.
Yeah,
They're great at it.
but I want to say here, and I want to get into this Sunday, of course, because you got to move on. And it's a good game to bounce back from because it's the Atlanta Falcons, who I think are two fan bases, 2 teams that are just suffering in general. I mean, 2 teams that aren't very good. Atlanta showed some fight coming back in that game against the Bucs. But, I mean, Matt Ryan, 3 interceptions, definitely struggled. I would have to think the Giants offense, with the way they played against Washington, I know Washington, their defense hasn't been as good as, not anywhere close to as good as expected. But the offense, I know I've mentioned it a couple times now, but they did play pretty solid. Daniel Jones running the football, I think, is big. He's underrated as a runner. I think that's
He is literally, I believe, obviously people have summer workout plans and
yeah.
stats changing, but I believe as of last season, he was literally the fastest quarterback in the league.
Yeah,
Like, he reached the highest.
Yeah, and
top
people
speed.
don't talk about that enough. And I think he's not. Maybe this is an issue with Jason Garrett. He's not put in enough positions to scramble and run the football.
He wants Daniel Jones to dink and dunk.
Yeah, and I don't know if that works for him.
Doesn't.
That changed a little bit in Washington. I feel like there were more opportunities for him to run the football, which is big. Saquon Barkley, like you said, he's going to start to get going. You expect that to happen. Galladay, same thing. Tony as well hasn't really been a part of the offense. You got to think with his talent, that's going to change. those are the positives for this offense.
Shepard has been a huge positive.
Shepard, and yeah, I mean,
And
you
another
go down the list.
Engram's returning at some point. Now,
Yes.
some people will groan when they hear that. Personally, I'm of the opinion that you should be lenient with young tight ends. Now, the reason for this is because when I show up here at WFUV and I do training to be on air, like, it's a lot to get a hold of. And I'm just doing one thing. Tight ends got to learn how to run routes. They got to learn how to catch balls. They got to learn how to pass block. They got to learn how to run block. They got to. There's a lot going on, man.
Yeah.
And Engram is a guy who did a lot of receiving in his career, but the drops are still happening. And I just think he's someone who can be way more effective than we've seen him so far. One of those many tight ends who ends up being a steal on their second contract, despite getting maybe overpaid or overdrafted on the first.